Hello, my friends, and welcome. It's a kind of a snowy winter day here in Berkeley Springs. So much so that most people didn't come to work, but we're here. We're going to soldier on, or in my case, sailor on, I guess, and try to answer some questions for you today. We got some interesting ones. Trace Lee says, hello, John. Thanks for your insight and so on. Upon listening, my biggest to some of the things that we've said in the past, she says, my biggest takeaway is to be prepared. Though I believe equally important to use discernment, one must really start questioning our beliefs, where they came from, get to the core of our intuition and feeling uncomfortable or keep feeling comfortable following our gut instincts. Yeah, I think you've got that about right. There is kind of, if you will, a physical aspect of this, Lee, and then there's or Trace, and then there is a kind of an evolutionary jump kind of component of it. So you kind of have to take care of yourself in terms of being prepared, because if you don't have any food, you're not going to spend much time thinking about, enlightenment or whatever. But the other part of it is this notion that we've all got to see ourselves and learn and see our reality in a different way. It is expanded awareness is what it is at the core of this whole process. And that expanded awareness, it seems to me, is primarily has to do with, as you've implied, is to begin to understand that most of everything, as a matter of fact, is kind of from inside of us rather than on the outside. It's really easy in the face of all of this stuff that's going on all around us to get all up in arms and worried about and Zelensky and Putin and Biden and all this kind of stuff. And that's not where the future is kind of inside of us. And it is it's an easy thing to say. It's a lot harder to rise to this occasion, to, facilitate this kind of emergence or this next step of development, of human development. But it really turns out to be primarily kind of inside of us. And so I think that this idea of kind of not only working out of your head, but also out of your heart and out of your gut and your intuition, and being able to play all of those at the same time, rather than just your head and let your head go crazy, which is what, typically it does. And so what we need to do is be able to plumb down, learn how to use your intuition, your heart, to kind of plumb down and access the answers to the questions and the issues that we've got. She says, one of my initiatives is to patiently try to convince others of their power, that they hold, their strength and wisdom for resilience and so on. Any further ideas about how to do that? Well, I long ago decided that my job was not to try to convince anybody in particular. My origins are, my early youth at least certainly was it that my father was an evangelist. He was a traveling minister, and so I saw my whole youth all the way until, out of college, until I went to the Navy, was all about surrounded by people who are always trying to convince other people that they were right and that the outside people were wrong. And I really decided not to do that. Everyone gets to make their own choice. And if they're not ready to make the choice, I don't understand how that works and why they're where they are and so on, but they are. And it's not kind of my job to, if you will, convince a whole lot of folks of something that I happen to believe is truthful. On the other hand, what I do believe is that when the time is right, when somebody is ready, then they will look for and they will benefit from, other information. I read a lot because I think that I need to find out from other sources how they look and how they think and how their ideas and stuff. I need to expand. It's this expanded awareness business. And so if you're ready to kind of work your way into this next phase of human development, then what you're going to start to do is look outside, look and find out whether there are other ideas and other such things. And so I think what we try to do here at the Arlington Institute is kind of put up a flag, and it says, here's some ideas about how you get from here to there, what the new world might look like, how you prepare yourself, and so on. And we try, and we're not trying to convince anyone. I mean, my life is surrounded, as most everybody's is, by all kinds of very well-meaning and good people who just don't see the world like I see the world. And so my job is not to convince them. It's to try to be helpful to those folks who are ready and prepared for all of this. And so I really don't know how to convince somebody else, but all I'd suggest, the best kind of imagery or the metaphor or is kind of a lighthouse or something like that. If you get to the place where you have internalized and you've developed this new perspective about how to deal with this emerging new world, it will become obvious to all kinds of people, and they'll come one way or another to ask you or respond and such. And that's where you can be most helpful to those folks who are ready, and rather than trying to convince them. Jeannie Bonwell says, we know about the aliens from Penny Kelly. Are they the ones who are supposedly pulling the strings of the Illuminati? If yes, which group of aliens? I can't even begin to suggest to you which group of aliens or who's doing what. And the fact that what in the big sweep of things, what I believe is that we're at this extraordinary time in history, unprecedented, where humanity is about to kind of emerge, expanded awareness again, and emerge and connect to the other kind of life forms that are in this universe, in this galaxy in particular. And, I've tried to be somewhat knowledgeable about this area just because I'm a futurist, and I think that it's a big deal. When it all happens, everything changes. All our notion of who we are and how the world works, and science and technology and all kinds of things suddenly just jump to a whole different area, because if you suddenly make contact with somebody who's been around for 10,000 years or a million years or however long it is, they have kind of almost by definition amazing kind of capabilities and learned a lot of stuff that we just really don't even begin to understand quite yet. And so that is a space that is kind of rife with opportunity and speculation and all kinds of things. And so there's plenty of people that are running around speculating, and I don't know whether to believe them, most of them or not. And a lot of them, it's hard for me, at least, when you tell me that you've got some inside person in some secret places feeding you stuff, and how do I know? How do you know what is all that is? I have no idea knowing that. That said, it would be hard to believe that at this period of this transition that there wouldn't be some kind of sources that would have some authoritative and coherent and always provocative, kind of insights out of about this new kind of transition into this kind of new area in space. Um, you would presume, I would at least, that if there were intelligent kind of forces and beings and groups that were had an interest in our evolution, and that they were playing some kind of a positive role in all of this, that at some level they would help to facilitate in their own way this whole process rather than just sit back there with their arms crossed and say, let's see how you guys do. Uh, I mean, I think this is a synergistic, kind of process where there's some element, at least, of force. There's always a tension. There seems to be plenty of folks who are trying to suppress this evolutionary process. I mean, from other dimensions as well, and some that are encouraging it. And so the guys who are encouraging it are going to help to provide, make sure the information is there for those who want it, and so those who are interested who want. And I would just suggest to you that right now there's a very interesting book that I'm in the middle of reading, and it's called The Seekers. There you go. The Seekers, and the author's name is Lena Dannan, Dannan. Now, she's only been to the States once, to the US once, and she spoke at a conference down in Florida in October of last year, 2020, of this year, 2022. And apparently she lives in Ireland or something like that. But this is a fascinating book that she reports that she has been involved in and seen and transported to and taken part of with all kinds of things, and particularly in the last few years, and that and she has access to and carries messages from some of these groups. But that means that the organized kind of groups of these extraterrestrials. Now, how do I know, right? How do any of us know who we're talking to when we got things like this going on? But this, and you need to consider this. You have to have, as Trace says, you have to have discernment, right? You can't run into this thing and believe everything you read. Otherwise, you believe what other people think, not what you think. And so this is if nothing but not if not an encouragement for self-assessment at many different levels. And so you need to, I think you just need to read these things with a very open mind and say, does this make sense? Is it saying anything? Where would you learn this, and so on, and engage, have a very engaged kind of process, and not just walk away and say, wow, and start telling your friends that this is what she said. Well, I don't know. But that said, this is one of the most authoritative sounding, and by that I mean when you read it, it just really sounds right. It makes a lot of sense. It explains extraordinary in ways that I'm not in a coordinated, comprehensive, integrated, internally consistent way. With stories of the last kind of half dozen years of what's going on in many areas throughout the galaxy and even outside of the galaxy, and what is happening. And as it turns out, if you believe that, believe what she says, there are all kinds of wars and conflicts and struggles and other kind of things that are ongoing all the time. And so in a sense, it's as below, so above kind of a thing, that the way we kind of operate on this planet. with human beings in general is the general kind of motif or modus operandi of in the larger space. Only it is far more sophisticated, and the technologies and capabilities are mind blowing. And that by itself is useful to kind of read all of this. And so, I don't know. I don't know who they all are and who it is, but there are plenty of players, and some that you may have heard of, and some you may not have. And so, I would encourage you and suggest to you that source, at least for me right now, is a very interesting one. And I think it's timely, by the way, because I think this whole business of disclosure and engagement with these kind of forces are very close, coming right up above in the near future. So thank you, my friends. That's all of the questions. I hope you'll send some more next month, and we'll sit around and we'll try to think about them a bit. This is 2023 is going to be an amazing. Every indication is going to be historical in terms of kind of chaos and uncertainty and change and all of those kinds of things. And some of it is around some of these questions, issues that are coming up in your questions. And so we'll look forward to seeing you and talking with you again in another month. So take care. Bye bye.